guys. Welcome to the Standard of Truth podcast, where we discuss theological, cultural, social, political, educational concerns from a biblical perspective. I am your host, April Chapman. Listen, this showed up in my news feed, and I'm so glad it did. I am so glad that it did. So I recently saw that YouTuber Anton reviewed Mike Todd's recent Ransom stage play that was done on this Easter Sunday. Anton Daniels is a YouTube content creator that I highly respect. I wish he would clean up his language, but there's value in so much that I've learned from his channel. So much respect to you, Mr. Anton Daniels. Shout out to you and the success of your channel. But I thought it was interesting that someone who is not a Christian content creator decided to review Mike Todd's video. And I thought it was interesting because I wanted to hear what someone who might consider themselves on the outside looking in had to say about Mike Todd, Transformation Church, and then just this Easter play in general. So I made some notes because I thought it was interesting to hear not only Anton Daniels provide his commentary, but what his listening audience was saying about this in his comment section. And so Ransom gets reviewed by Anton Daniels. Just on the face value of it, he just starts reviewing the video. And here are some of the things that he said. He mentioned that he hated that it was like a repackage of all things secular, right? I'm paraphrasing. I'm not quoting exactly. And he says he doesn't like when the world, when the church tries to be like the world to be relevant. You know, his thing is like gospel is gospel, secular is secular, like the two twain shall never meet. And he just halfway through his review, when he got to the part where the young ladies are on the stage and they start doing a little dance about the fatty and the baddie, he was like, I'm done. At that point, like he literally turned it off. He was like, this is so cringe. He was like, I can't. He was like, I can't. Literally, he said, I can't. He was like, I can't go any further. And I thought it was interesting to listen to this commentary and to see people in the comments section pushing back, because in the macro sense, this represents the temperature, the litmus test, the opinion of the watching, unbelieving world as they watch the church attempt to come down to their level in an effort to connect and relate. And what we saw happen was that you failed miserably. No one believes you. They don't believe your Jesus because your Jesus looks just like what they are getting out in the world. And I know we keep beating this like it's a dead horse, but it's very telling when the unbelieving world can watch your perversion of your presentation of what you think the gospel of Christ is and what the resurrection means, and they reject it. That is something that you need to pay attention to and take note of. In my previous video where I analyzed Transformation Church's core values, their cultural code, everything that they stand for and represents is what the culture does not want. I would present to you, a lot of people leave the church. When I say the church, meaning the organized body, the visible church, a lot of young people leave because they actually see that, oh, you really are no different than the world. You know, the church mess that goes on, if you've ever been immersed in church culture, the flagrant and blatant sexual immorality, the idolatry, the abominable things that happen within church culture, the church scandals. A lot of young people leave because they're like, all you people are hypocrites. You don't even do a good job of trying to practice what you preach. Here's what I did not say. You very rarely hear people leaving the church because they said, the church context where I came from was full of humility. They lived a life before us and honored the Lord, and I just left because I loved my sin. They don't really tend to say that. They tend to say the church was just like the world, and there was really no line of demarcation. There was no difference between, what I was sneaking and doing on the side and then what was actually happening in the church. Young people can see fraudulent behavior from a mile away. They sniff out inauthentic personas and presentations. They can see it. And something that Anton also said, he noticed, he said that he doesn't like when he sees, pastors trying to be hip, like wearing the latest clothes and having the latest fad hairstyle. He was like, I don't like that. And what that tells me is that even the unconverted person, they want, and I'm not calling Anton unconverted. Like I said, I don't know him, but what I'm saying is even the unconverted, they want there to be a difference. What is different about you? How are you wholly separate and set apart for the gospel of God? Like the Apostle Paul says, if we act the same, we look the same, we're willing to go all the way up to the line, the sin line, and even peek over a little bit and stick our toe and then jump it right back. Like, what's the point? Like, what are we out here doing? This progressive Christianity stuff is really, it's comical to me. And it's comical and it's sad because it actually does captivate the minds of a lot of people. There are a lot of people that get caught up in these progressive churches, and it's because they know the Bible is true. They do have a knowledge of God, but because they love their sin and they don't want to abandon who they are and come to Christ, they like flirting with the idea of Jesus light, but they still want the world and all that it has to offer. And the scriptures tell us, if you are a friend of the world, you don't belong to Christ. And to hear Pastor Mike Todd say, we going all in. We're going to do everything. We're going to get so close to we're going to do everything but sin. You've sinned already. For you to think that Christ died for you to be able to flirt with transgression, to be able to flirt with sin, for you to think that you can do that and folks were going to buy it, you, my friend, are deceived. And if you're listening to this video and you're like, I've been going to Transformation Church or one of its plants or, one of its satellite churches for years, and you're right, I do. We dibble and dabble in just enough sin so we can look like, we're struggling with sin, but y'all not struggling with sin. You're not struggling with it. Because when you flirt with the idea of it, when you put yourselves in positions where you just get just enough, that's not the mark of a believer. Believers flee from sin. And when they find themselves caught in a transgression, they are quick to repent. And it ain't just, Lord, I'm sorry. They're broken over their sin. And it's not a worldly sorrow. It's godly sorrow. So I just wanted to come on and lend my commentary to the fact that Anton Daniels reviewed this video and he was so disturbed, very disturbed. His audience was disturbed. His audience was like, that's not a church. That's not a church. Now, what he did do, he did give Transformation Church their props, because we all would be hard pressed to deny the fact that the production value was magnifique, excellent. I mean, it was just excellent. It rivaled some of, Tyler Perry couldn't have done better. Well, I don't know if that's saying much, but depending let me be gracious. They did an amazing job pulling resources and talent together to pull that off. But when I heard Mike Todd say, it was like 1:00 in the morning after the event, this man was boasting in the fact that he blasphemed God on the Lord's Day with that sacrilegious performance. Matter of fact, I'm going to let you listen to exactly what he said.
But I still cannot shake what God did tonight. I'm in my closet messed up, but I knew tonight was going to be special. Thousands of people showed up. The production was phenomenal. Hundreds of people met Jesus. And then about an hour of worship later, after we dismissed, overflow hit the cast and the crew. Do whatever you gotta do Get to Transformation Church today. It's going to radically upgrade your life.
Okay, so after hearing that, he is literally telling you, first of all, numbers don't mean anything. For you to say, we had hundreds of people saved, how would you know that? You don't know that. You don't engage with your members like that. They can't meet you, hug you. Like, there are people who go to your church that have never met you personally, Mike. You have no idea whose heart was moved and changed. And if someone's heart was moved and changed, like genuinely, I'm not talking about they were just sorrowful and now they're coming to your church now, because church membership does not equal a salvific work of the Lord. If their heart was moved and changed, it's because the Lord did that work, and it's in spite of. I was listening to Colin Miller's video. He did a video on this. So many faithful God-honoring content creators have addressed this topic. But when I was listening to Colin Miller talk about this, he said that, take, for example, the story of Joseph, right? Joseph went on to do great and amazing things and to save Egypt from peril. But how Joseph got to where he was, to get to the point where he saved a lot of people, his brothers had to throw him in a pit, and then he gets sold into slavery. Now, that's not a prescription for, see, it worked, so let's all throw our brother in a pit and sell him into slavery. What God did, what his brothers did, was evil. It was with nefarious intent, and they're going to be judged for that sin. But God in his sovereignty will always he uses everything for our good and his glory. What they meant for evil, God meant it, not used it, meant it for good. He ordained for that wicked thing to happen because it was a part of his broader, greater purpose. So, Mike, you might think you out here really doing something, and that, the cast and the crew were ushered in the presence of, how could they have gotten ushered in the presence of God? God was absent. He was not there. He didn't give approval. He didn't co-sign to that. You got the approval of the God that you've been bowing the knee to all this time for the sake of cultural relevancy and political expediency. That's who got the glory. You got the glory on that evening or morning or whenever it took place. But what do you guys think? Do you think, Anton reviewing the video is great, but his opinion doesn't really matter? Or if you actually think that actually his opinion matters much, because it's giving you a general idea of what the broader culture thinks when they see the church mimicking the world. How do we herald the truth if we have to mimic what the God of this world is doing? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe on this video. It really helps the channel out a lot.